We say we're in a war against Al-Qaeda. We just never said we've been in a war against terrorism, which is a tactic. It's an unusual thing to say that we're at war against a tactic. We are, however, at war against Al-Qaeda.
So as you just heard, a top White House official saying that the U.S. is in a war against Al-Qaeda. Interesting, it wasn't mentioned at all in the State of the Union address, but not terrorism. Meanwhile, the president traveling to India, attending the country's Republic Day parade, a display of India's military might. Ed Henry is live in New Delhi. So, Ed, the president has a pretty big agenda in New Delhi, but it seems terror issues overshadowing that visit a bit.
That's right. He wants to take credit for a civilian nuclear deal. They've had a little bit of a breakthrough here after years of stall between the U.S. and India. That might help some American companies that want to build nuclear power plants in this country. So he wants to highlight that. But you're right, terror concerns. Yemen, which is now in shambles after the president had said it was basically a success story a few months ago. And then what you just heard from Dennis McDonough saying, look, we're at war with Al-Qaeda. Remember, a terror group that the president had said was on the run, that the Al-Qaeda core had been decimated. And listen to what he said at last year's State of the Union when he claimed that we were getting off a war footing. Listen.
So even as we actively and aggressively pursue terrorist networks through more targeted efforts and by building the capacity of our foreign partners, America must move off a permanent war footing.
Now, I pressed one of the president's top aides, Ben Rhodes, here. I pressed him on what does that mean when the president said, look, we want to get off a war footing just a year ago. He said that was about large numbers of troops in Iraq and Afghanistan, and that Dennis McDonough is right that we are at war with Al-Qaeda. But as you mentioned, Martha, if we're at war with Al-Qaeda, why didn't the president last week at this year's State of the Union mention it?
It seemed like it would have been a golden opportunity to talk about that and to outline exactly what the policy and the strategy is in that war. So, Ed, there was another incident back home in Washington this morning that's making some noise halfway around the world today, right?
Yeah, we're here, and it was the middle of the night, East Coast time, here in New Delhi. We're having a press briefing with Josh Earnest about this trip, and one of my colleagues asked him, we're just getting this report of an unmanned drone landing on the White House lawn in the middle of the night, East Coast time, and Josh Earnest knew nothing about it initially, so then other aides took questions. He checked his BlackBerry, literally came back and said, okay, yes, Secret Service says they found this drone in the middle of the night. They don't believe anyone is in any danger. The President and First Lady are here. We asked whether their daughters are back at the White House. We didn't really get any answers about that. So, look, this is raising a lot of concerns that even though there was no immediate threat, it appears, Secret Service is doing an investigation. They've had a lot of problems recently. And now if a drone landed on the lawn, that makes you wonder about what kind of threats are out there, Martha.
Absolutely. Bad precedent. Ed, thank you very much.